What's going on, everybody? It's Moonshine, the Hillbilly Hellraiser. How you doing? Hope everyone's doing good. It's that time of year where we do the metal tag, which is being presented by Heavy Metallurgy, the channel hosted by Alan and Marty Worm. It was one of those things that it gives everyone a chance who does videos or watches a lot of this like metal YouTube stuff. Gives them a chance to start off the year by doing a questionnaire. But first of all, if you're not familiar with me, you're just finding this through the whole metal tag deal. How you doing? I'm Dan. This is Moonshine Talking. This is my channel here where I do a bunch of metal reviews, live concert, not so much reviews, but recaps. I cover a lot of pro wrestling stuff because I used to once upon a time be a pro wrestler on the independent level. So I do lots of match breakdowns and analysis. I talk about the news in both wrestling and metal. Uh, I like talking about horror movies, all sorts of TV shows and stuff that entertain me. All sorts of whatever entertains me. That's pretty much what I do here. It covers a wide range, the gamut of entertainment. And yeah, man, that's so if this is your first time seeing this, welcome aboard. If you aren't familiar, if you're a regular, then yeah, we're gonna do the metal tag. Again, hosted by Alan the Professor and Marty Worm over at Heavy Metallurgy. If you're not familiar with their channel, go check it out. It's awesome. They do lots of live streams where they discuss albums. They bring all sorts of uh, metal content creators on to do that, do breakdowns and analysis of various albums by various artists, all sorts of fun stuff. Battles between this album or that one. There's a lot of cool stuff that they do over there. So yeah, man. So this is 20 questions, and I should probably be a little better prepared here as far as having the questions in front of me. So give me one quick second. While I'm scrolling through my phone, I watched a couple of these already. There's been a couple good ones. The Fomorian Productions crew, they did one. Shredbeard, Lee from Warhammer 666, Miss A, they all did a collaborative one. I saw Liam from the band Consecration, the Death Doom Metalhead, he did one. And I saw Daryl, Celtic Frosty, he did one as well. They're all pretty good. I haven't watched everybody's thing, but I've watched the vast majority of them that have come up across my on my algorithm or my feed or what have you. Gotta wait for the ad to stop playing. Yeah, there we go. You can tell I'm pulling up the channel. All right, so there's 20 questions. Once again, uh, I'll try not to repeat myself too much. But first question, giddy up. 2026 is the year of the fire horse. Show an album with a horse on the cover. Horse like creatures such as Pegasus are permitted, but you lose some street cred if you show a unicorn. Well, I don't know anything that has a unicorn, so you don't got to worry about that with me. Uh, I'm going to show one, but then I'm going to go for a little extra credit here. First up is going to be from the melodic black metal band Storm Ruler and their album Under the Burning Eclipse. It's pretty cool. You see a knight, warrior, what have you, on his steed, all decked out in spikes and chains. Looks like they've just been through a battle and are having a reflective moment after whatever has just occurred. I thought that was pretty cool. The artist who did that cover, his name is uh, Giannis Nakos. And if you're not familiar with his work, which I'm not going to lie and say that I was expert on it myself, he did the most recent Blood Red Throne album cover, Siltskin. He did their last one as well. He's done a lot of work with them, and He also did an album. One of his earliest works that I saw was "Degenerated Human Cells" by the band Remnants of Flesh back in 2009. So yeah, man, very very talented artist. I mean, that always makes a difference with the albums. And then this one is for the band Colombian black metal band Niad, and this is "Our Victory Is Eternal." I thought this one was pretty cool. It was actually more or less a blind buy based on the cover itself. This is the second, well, not so much it's not a reissue. It's the first pressing of the CD by Iron Goat Commando, which is a Colombian label. That is not the original artwork, but I thought it was really cool. You see all the warriors surrounding their goat-headed general, the horse with the harness that's got the pentagram on it. Very cool stuff. This is the original artwork on the first pressing of the. It came out on cassette originally, but that right there, that is the artwork. It was done by Julian Mora, who goes by Julian Malice professionally. As far as some stuff that he's done as well, he did this Zentich at the Gates of Nar Maturu, which came out last year. I thought that was a really cool cover. Checked out the band. It's kind of slammy death metal, a little bit on the brutal side. He did Witch Trap, Hungry as the Beast, which came out of Hell's Headbangers. Uh, I wanted to say last year, but 2024. Now we're in 2026. Very cool cover. And Wombath, Beyond the Abyss, was another one that he did last year. So very cool artist, very cool stuff. Uh, go check out either of their stuff. It's very good work. I mean, so many talented artists that do stuff in the metal field. It's very cool. So next up was I'm going to say this was the Nostalgia show an album that you don't think is very good, but can't bring yourself to get rid of it. Well, I would say this Skin Chamber Wound. It's noisy industrial music. They had a single, "Sucked Inside," which was on the at Death's. Yeah, it was at Death's Door compilation album. I believe so. Is that or Death is Just the Beginning? I'm pretty sure it was that Death's Store compilation that who was that? Roadrunner put that out. Yeah, yeah, because this is Roadrunner. Um, and I found it for like $2 at a record store, so I was like, hell yeah, I'll pick that up. And by and large, this is I don't mind industrial, but this is along the lines of, like I say, it's more noisy, so it's really an endurance test. And I try not to do the whole endurance test thing when I'm listening to music. I like to enjoy myself. I like to have fun listening to stuff, get into the grooves and the riffs and stuff like that. And beyond that first single, there's really not a lot of meat on this bone. So I wouldn't say I'm opposed to getting rid of it. First of all, it's I got it dirt cheap, so I don't think anybody's really going out of the way to pick it up from me. And besides, it's not something that I mean, I might listen to it again and I might appreciate it a little bit more, but the first time I heard the whole thing front to back, it was like, this is just kind of, it's just kind of there. So next up, Goat. Show your favorite new album released in 2025. Well, if you're new here, go check out my video, the best albums of 2025, and then go check out some of the honorable mentions, EPs, and stuff like that. Go check out my channel. I could certainly use the support. But anyhow, that notwithstanding, my favorite album of this past year was The Return of Magic by Wake. This is sludge metal from Little Rock, Arkansas. Amazing band. I really love the progressive elements, and I'm not a huge proggy guy, but this was a great release. When it first came out earlier in the year, I kind of slept on it. It was one of those where I didn't really give it a lot of attention. I heard it once, and then it was kind of like a one and done deal. But then I saw them open for Acid Bath over the summer, and they killed. They were a great opener. They had a great set. They were a lot of fun to listen to, and it really kind of it highlighted the dynamics, the ebb and the flow of the songs. So I gave it another listen and instantly became a favorite of mine. I played it so many times from that point going forward. So you're talking like May or June, and I've played it so much. The Return of Magic is a fantastic song. They've got Jim Dandy from Black Oak, Arkansas does a little spoken word thing on psychedelic incarceration. You can't go wrong with that. Black Oak rules. But yeah, man, that was my favorite album of the year. But if you want to hear any more of my opinions on the best albums of last year, then that's what you do. Go check out my video on it, and I would certainly appreciate your support and comment if you want. If not, that's cool too. But next up, number four, show a favorite album that is not a heavy metal album. So I kind of toiled with this because a lot of stuff that I like that's not metal, I don't really own much of, aside from some classic rock, maybe some southern rock. Uh, Most of the stuff that I have in that variety, my sister stole years ago. So she's more into country and stuff like that. So she's taken a lot of my Allman Brothers stuff, some soundtracks to movies that I have. Even I had a Butthole Surfers album. I think she's got that. But yeah, man, stuff like that I typically don't have. So I went with what I do have, which is some 90s hip hop. And I know most people, a lot of metalheads, they are kind of averse to hip hop, but I'll show this anyway. This is a Philly based group called The Goats, and this is their album No Goats, No Glory. I got this when I was a teenager, coming of age back in the way back when of the 90s. And this is pretty cool. I'll show the cover here because it's a pretty neat little cover. I haven't spun this in a long time, but very cool stuff. I used to really be into 90s hip hop, and this was one of the things I really enjoyed. This was one of these bands where they kind of they went the route around this time that the Beastie Boys did, where they started using live instruments and playing actual music as opposed to just samples and a DJ and all that. But very cool stuff. Rumblefish is a good song. They have another from a previous album, Typical Americans, a pretty good song if you've ever heard that. If not, uh, I know like Dennis from Analog Archives. He likes his hip hop, and my buddy Eddie from Realms of Metal, the channel, but Realms of Rock, his store, an online store. He's not opposed to it as well. But yeah, man, that's probably one that is not metal that I like. But yeah, any sort of old school like Motown R&B type stuff. Sam Cooke is really good. I like some old Southern rock and outlaw country, things of that nature. But by and large, it's mostly metal and hard rock and things like that. That's mostly what I listen to. Let's see. The Unknown. Show an album that you can't remember ever hearing someone talk about on YT, which is short for YouTube. It's getting warm in here, so I'm going to have to turn a fan on. It's been cold. If you're not aware, I probably should mention this at the rip, but I'm in Florida. I'm in the spiritual birthplace of American death metal, Tampa, and it's been kind of cool here recently, like in the 30s to 50s, and now we're back up in the 80s. So I'm starting to sweat my yabos off. But this is for the band Black Betty. It's a two-piece from I want to say Canada, and maybe Anna. I think she's from somewhere in South America. I want to say Chile or somewhere like that, but don't quote me on that. Sometimes I'm wildly off base on some of the things that I say, so you probably should fact check some of the stuff that I say. I try to research as much as I can, but sometimes I get fooled or I just talk out of my ass. So it is what it is. But this is Jonas Fairley does drums and vocals, and Anna Serena is the guitar player. I compare this to if this is what the White Stripes would sound like if they had balls. This is very blues oriented, heavy psych, almost doomy kind of stuff. Very fuzzy riffs, very riff oriented, very cool stuff. The whole album is killer. I really can't say I've heard too many people speak about it, but if you've never heard that, I've talked about it before. But go check it out. Black Betty were a very good band. This was a very good album. I kind of wish they were still together, but don't know where they went on that one. I think Jonas at one point was working with Jakey Lee in Red Dragon Cartel, and that was the last I heard of anything that either one of them were doing. But yeah, man, Black Betty, go check out their self-titled. That's a very cool album. Let's see. Front Loaded, show an album whose first song is its best song. I had a couple that I was going to go with, but the one that I ended up going with, I put it in a cassette because this came out of what I call my Lucy pile, which is all the ones where I lost the back inserts over the years because I'm a dum dum in the process of moving and consolidating for space and time. I got rid of inserts, and some of them are OG copies that I'm. The only thing worse is some of the old death metal stuff that I used to have that was burned, lost to the fires. But I would say the first track off of Lights Camera Revolution by Suicidal Tendencies, You Can't Bring Me Down, is probably my favorite song. It's probably the best song on the album. I like Send Me Your Money. I like Alone, and I like the whole album, but that one is definitely, most definitely the best song on the album. It was one of, I think, the first single. They did a music video for it. So that's one I would go with on that one. Then let's go to number seven, Encore. Show an album that you think would be better if it were longer. I kind of like Lee's take on this as far as uh, the artist concept, the artist vision for the albums, as far as telling them to make something longer or not. And I get the whole like, yeah, man, I would love to hear more from that one. But at the same time, I will go, since it is a question, I will answer it with this one. AC, 40 more reasons to hate us. This could have been 50 more reasons, 60 more reasons, 70 more reasons. I love AC. I love Seth Putnam's sense of humor, the sense of style as far as music goes. This is a very cool album. I just got it recently. I found it at one of my local shops, and reasonable price for what it is. I don't really see AC out in the wild too much, so I snagged it up. And that could have been way longer, and it would have been just as enjoyable as it is now with 40. So that would be my encore pick. And then next up, a number eight, Fail. Show an album that you bought that disappointed you. So I would have to say there were two that really disappointed me from the past year as far as new releases go. I would say Behemoth's The Shit of God was really lackluster. It had a couple of songs on there that were halfway decent, but definitely not their strongest work to date, and definitely not really something that I would say would fall pretty high, would rank pretty high as far as some of their earlier work or their classic stuff that everybody's really familiar with, like the Satanist and the early albums, Grom and the some of that stuff. That's the stuff I like. I saw them years ago, and folks, if you're not familiar with me, this is what I do. I'll go off on sidebars and rants and things of that nature. That's why my videos are longer than probably your average content creator or video maker, commentator, whatever we're called, whatever we call ourselves. But I saw them in a club at the Brass Mug. It's a very famous club here in Tampa. I saw them years ago, had no idea who they were, didn't know them from Adam. And I say it all the time. I'm pretty sure they opened for, I want to say they opened for 6 feet under. I want to say it was 6 feet under. And oh, what the hell's the name of the band? Skinless, I want to say. I think that was the I think that was the tour. I've mentioned it before, and I think that's what it was, but I honestly I've been hitting the head once too often from wrestling, so that's sometimes why I forget stuff too. But then my second pick, I know a lot of people like this, but I was not really a fan of Parabellum by Testament. I know a lot of people liked it. I liked the first song. I liked where they were going with the black metal stylings, but beyond that, it was just kind of meh. You know, it really didn't do much for me. So those would be two albums that kind of really disappointed me. As far as older stuff, I wouldn't say a lot of stuff that's older. I wouldn't own it if it disappointed me, just because I don't like to own albums that are gonna make me sad or make me regret buying them. But as far as newer stuff, there is some newer stuff that I get that's like, okay, that was a little overhyped, or it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. So number nine is The Return. Show an album that you played in 2025 that you had not played in over a year. I spun Psychic Warfare by Clutch, and man, is this a killer album. I love Clutch. Clutch is one of my favorite bands of all time. You can see I got a poster in the background if I wanted to jump up again, but I'm not going to. I got a shirt that has it says Neil Fallon, a national treasure, that a buddy made for me for Christmas time years back. I just love them. They got a great sound, lots of boogie and blues based riffage, and Neil Fallon's voice is the right type of gravelly, and the lyrics are just at times goofy and bizarre, and it's they're just a great band. My hot take, if you want to call it that, my controversial take is that if you don't like Clutch, I kind of question your taste in music and your opinions on music, because I don't understand how people can't like Clutch. They're a great band, but this is a phenomenal album. X-Ray Visions all the way to Son of Virginia. There's hardly a weak track on this. Maybe Doom Saloon and Our Lady of Electric Light might be the ones that I like the least, but the whole album is killer. The whole first half, I mean, the first five or six songs from X-Ray Visions all the way to Your Love Is Incarceration, it's just that's top tier stuff right there. So that was something that I spun. They had a I forget which album it was that there was an anniversary that they just did. I want to say it was Blast Tyrant, but again, don't quote me on that. I think that's the one that they were touring recently. I missed them the past couple of times they've come through Florida, which is kind of a bummer. But and then it really sucked because they were playing down in Lauderdale, and these guys I know in a band called Hollow Light got to open for them. So it would have been cool to go see them open for Clutch. That would have been a badass show. But you can't go to them all. So next up is Joker, show an album with a hilarious cover art. Green Jelly, Serial Killer. I mean, these guys are just goofy asses. Very funny stuff. Joke band as joke bands could get. Like the the LSD soaked love child of Guar and the mentors of Gigi Allen, I would say that'd be the best way to describe them. Fun fact, I saw a clip on YouTube years ago of them on the Gong Show, which if you're familiar with that TV show, it was like America's Got Talent, but what they would do is the people would perform, and then the celebrities that were there, if they liked them, they let them finish their act. If they didn't, they'd hit the gong that was behind them, and then they would get pulled off the stage, and you'd have Gene, the dancing machine, and the unknown comic, and the show eventually got pulled off the air because a couple of young ladies were filleting popsicles, and I guess that was too much for standards and practices back in the day. But it was a coke fueled, frenzied kind of crazy ass show. Very very fun stuff. But they were on there. Green Jelly, Green Jello. That very funny cover. Next up, Yearning. Name a potential album release you're anxiously awaiting in 2026. Well, again, I did a video on this. If you want to check out, I mentioned a whole bunch of albums that I was really looking forward to. That one was with my best EPs of the year. So if you want to check that out, I got a whole video of it. So I'll put one on. I'll mention one that I didn't mention at the time. Behind me, you'll see that Necrosis banner. That's for a local band called Virulence. Virulence are Tampa-based death metal, and they do death metal right. They do it that old school Tampa sound, very, very cool Florida death metal. And they've been working on a new album. Chris and Vince, I know fairly well. I've gotten to know them quite a bit, going to shows and everything. And they're a great band. They're a great band live. They've been working on a brand new album. They've played out. They've tested a couple of songs that they're doing that are going to be on the new album, and it's killer stuff. I think if you like that old school death metal style that originated here in the Florida area in the swamps, then I would definitely check out Virulence's new album. Keep an eye out for that because it's going to be a doozy, and I think people are going to enjoy it. So that would be one that I would say I'm looking forward to. But if you want to hear me talk about more albums I'm looking forward to, I did a whole video on it. So you go check that out and let me know what you think there. Some more shameless self promotion. I do that too, by the way, if you're not familiar with me. Next up is going to be number 12, Collector Scum. In your collection, is there a pesky gap in a band's discography you're hoping to fill? I wouldn't say hoping to fill, but definitely something that, as far as being a completionist, definitely there's a couple. I would say there's a few bands, but I would say by and large, probably off the top of my head, Rock and Roller by Judas Priest, I got to get because that's one of the ones as far as especially early Priest, I don't have. I don't have any of the Ripper Owens stuff. I don't have Jugulate or any of that stuff or any of the later stuff outside of Invincible Shield, but definitely that one I got to get to complete the early up until like Painkiller is probably about where I stopped listening to Judas Priest for quite some time. But slowly but surely, I will over time complete the cycle and get all of Priest stuff on disc because I do enjoy my Priest. And but that would be one that I would say is definitely one that I gotta pick up. The Evolution is number 13. Talk about a band or album that you think is successfully moving its respective genre forward creatively. That was a tough one. I will tell you a band who I think is not moving the genre forward creatively. I heard the band Architecture the other day, and their new album, I think it's called The Signature Sound or something like that. And I don't normally listen to albums and get angry while I'm listening to them, but this one made me angry. uh, I don't understand the concept of post anything, post hyphen rock, post hyphen black metal, post this, that is shoegaze and all that just nonsense that there's 500 subgenres of subgenres and it really gets a little too deep into the weeds and dare I say at the risk of being offensive, a little too autistic for my taste. So I heard that because a bunch of like the more highfalutin people that talk about albums and stuff like that were like, "Oh, this is one of the greatest black metal albums that's ever come out," and I listened to it and it just made me angry. And I read the notes on Bandcamp for it, and I just said to myself, "Yeah, that makes sense." So if I am gonna go with something, I'll go with probably my I think Black Braid is good as far as black metal goes. I think that John and Neil are doing a really great job as far as their band itself. I think that 3 was better than 2, which is better than 1. I think that they're expanding upon their sound and their style and really maturing as a group and as artists. And that would be one who I would say is really doing a good job as far as that goes. I got my buddy Scott who has a channel No Solution. He doesn't really post that much anymore, but he's got really good taste. And he didn't like 3 as much as 2, but I thought it was one of the better albums of the year. So definitely that would be one I would say is moving a genre forward creatively. But beyond that, I would have to really give that some thought because sometimes adding all sorts of bells and whistles doesn't really mean much to me. I mean, I know that Black Braid used flutes and more folk instruments and stuff like that, and I really honestly I don't give a crap about all that. That doesn't really sway me one way or the other. If it's good tunes, it's good tunes, and that's really all that matters to me. If it's a good riff and it's gonna make you move and make you feel something, then that's really to me that's all that really matters. I don't really give a crap about adding all of this or that or the other thing, all these goofy things just for the sake of it. So let's see. Next up is Told You So. Show an album or albums that someone recommended to you that impressed you enough to purchase it. Sepsism, Purulent Decomposition. My buddy Trevor, who has a channel, Fumes of Hatred, which again, another guy who doesn't post anymore. I wish he would. Trevor's got excellent taste in music. Big ups and shout out to Trevor Fumes of Hatred. He's got exceptional taste. I know he's turned a few people on to a variety of bands, but he recommended this. I listened to it, really enjoyed it. Very good, brutal death metal from California. And that would be one that I would say, yeah, somebody recommended to me. Sometimes people will recommend stuff to me and I'll buy it on blind faith. And If it's good, it's good. If it's not, then I go, okay. Like, but most times, everybody who recommends stuff to me, they're usually pretty spot on as far as that sort of thing goes. So I get lucky as far as that goes. Number 15, King Cheese. Recommend a power metal album to Marty Worm that you think is exceptional. He's always on the hunt. I don't really listen to power metal. I'm not a big power metal guy. I had to look up I looked on Wikipedia for a list of power metal bands because I thought going up Metal Archives would take way too long. I mean, I've heard Camelot, I've heard Blind Guardian, what's the wankery one? Um Dragon Force, I've heard that. Don't really care for any of that stuff. If I were to say anyone that is power metal or power metal adjacent, anything pretty much from the Matt Barlow era of Iced Earth, maybe some Manowar. But beyond that, I anything that I would recommend is probably stuff that Marty already likes or is familiar with, and so I don't really. It'd be kind of an exercise in futility in recommending that. Maybe Camelot. I used to have an album of theirs, and I loaned it to somebody because I thought it was good, and I thought he would enjoy it too. And then he never gave it back to me. He lost it because he's a big stoner and forgets things and just lost my CD. So, it happens. So that would be I guess that would be my answer to that one. Sorry, Marty. Number 16, 2 Minutes to Midnight. What is the last album you bought in 2025? Well, I did a whole video called A Tale of Collector Scum. It was the last thing that I did. If you want to see the last stuff that I bought in the year, I went to one of my local record stores and went kind of butt nutty as far as the purchase went. I couldn't tell you exactly what the last thing that got rung up was. So, on a technical standpoint, I couldn't really tell you that. But that's all the stuff that I was the last stuff that I bought. But the last thing that got sent to me was this Burning Death album on Caligari Records. They're self-titled. This is a Memphis black thrash band. Really good stuff. Very cool. Definitely in that Venom, Bewitcher, Hell Ripper vein. If you're into that sort of thing, then that's the sort of thing you're gonna like. So that's the last thing that I got in the year. Still waiting on my Malefic Throne album and a couple other things I purchased last year. But if you want to see like a full, like a ridiculous amount of stuff that I bought recently, go check out my Tale of Collector Scum. I love that phrase. If for no other reason, that's why I like heavy metallurgy is because I first heard the term collector scum on here and I fell in love with that instantly. It's just such a great way to describe people. But let's see. Brain Drain. When feeling musical burnout, what is a nostalgic album that always makes you excited about music again? I'm gonna go with two on this one. Not quite. When I think of nostalgic, I think of older stuff, like really older stuff. And I'm not in my 20s, but I'm not in my 70s either. I'm not over the hill. I'm just kind of working my way up towards the front end of it. But as far as that goes, stuff that really pumps me up if I'm feeling a little burnout, I'd say Witch Cult Today by Electric Wizard. I can't go wrong with that. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. This Witch Cult Today, Dumb Witch, Satanic Rites of Drugula, uh, Torquemada. Just a great album. I love Electric Wizard. Again, another one of my favorite bands of all time. They're one of my, as the kids would say, my goated bands. And then I'm going to go with this one. This is a real nostalgic one. Diary of a Madman by Ozzy. This is actually my eldest sister's copy, but how can you go wrome with that? Just a tremendous tremendous album. So that would be something that I could listen to and really get the home fires burning as far as music goes again. Let's see, number 18, there's Waldo. Show a classic or older album that you somehow overlooked for many years that you loved as soon as you heard it. I heard of this album through Heavy Metallurgy. Then I saw a couple other people talk about it. So I was fortunate enough to find the High Roller repressing at my local record store, Steelworker Records. I keep mentioning it, but that's the name of the place here in Tampa. If you're new to the area or you're not from here and you're visiting, go check out Steelworker Records. Fantastic place. Yeah, man, but this Slaughter, Strapato, really enjoyed this the first time I heard it. A great thrash album, classic thrash. I'm more of an American thrash guy, but I'm starting to branch out and get into some of the European thrash stuff, particularly the German and all that sort of stuff. Love the New Corner, but really wasn't familiar with them up until this last album. But yeah, man, that's one that I think a lot of people consider an underground classic, and it's for good reason. I really enjoyed that one. Let's see, 19. Hello, my name is. Was there a video or stream that I participated in that I was particularly proud of? I don't remember doing any streams this year. I probably did. The only thing that I did that I wouldn't so much say I was proud of, but I guess it was kind of noteworthy because I actually more or less hit my marks was Shredbeard, my buddy Trevor. He does a show on Sundays called Mandatory Metal and Mayhem. I believe both Alan and Marty have been on it. As a matter of fact, I think that Lee from Warhammer 666 and from Orion Productions is going to be on their show. I'm going to just post this as soon as I'm done recording it. And then, actually, no, I'm probably not going to do that because I'm going to have to throw some edits in there. But he'll probably have already been on there or close to it if I get home early enough. But I would say I did that, and he asked me to mention an album from this year that was an underground release that was pretty good. So I did that, and he asked me to do it in 2 minutes, and I did it in 2:01, which is good for me because, as you can see, I can babble on for quite a while sitting here by myself. Uh, but that would be about the only thing. I think I did one with my buddies who I mentioned already, Scott and Trevor. I think we were just bullshitting about wrestling and a variety of other things, but it was kind of like I had that nervous energy because it was the second time I had done one of these things. So I kind of wished it was that I wish we kind of like game planned it better and had it formatted a little more strictly because I kind of felt like I was over talking and talking over people and kind of monopolizing too much of the time with those guys. And that really is something that is never my intent. I do, if people want to invite me on their streams, I would like them to invite me back. I want them to think that I'm some babbling ass, even though I am. But at the same time, I do know how to function in society. So I can wait my turn and speak my piece or just sit back and listen to everybody else say theirs. And I'm fine either way. 20, Into Glory Ride. This is the final question. Name a band that you want to see release one more great album before they retire. I'd say Wasp. I'd like to finally see that new Wasp album come out finally. I know it's been a few years that they've been teasing, that Blackie's been teasing this with people, but I would like to see them have one more good album come out to bookend the career. And then maybe that'd be it, right off into the sunset. I love those. I love most Wasp albums, even some of the stuff where people kind of bristle at because it got Blackie became born again and got all Jesus-y with the lyrics and stuff like that. But even a lot of that stuff is good. By and large, Wasp is another one of my favorite bands. So that would be one where I'd finally like to see them put that out. And then, yeah, have that be it. I know they did the One Alive tour, which I unfortunately missed, even though I had tickets for it. That's a whole other story. But yeah, that would be my choice. So that was 20 questions. That was the metal tag for 2026. Thank you to Marty and Alan for inviting everybody. I did this last year too, but I thought the concept was that somebody had to tag you in. And I kind of felt like a trespasser just barging in doing it on my own, but that doesn't seem to be the case this year. But I actually, since this is what I do, I like to flip the script on people. I have an interesting proposal to anybody who watches this, and hopefully Alan and Marty see it. Um, I have a question for everybody. Do you have an album in your collection that is housed next to something that makes you scratch your head and go, "What the hell?" Because I have a couple of those. I have Cyanide: A Descent into Hell next to my copy of Cinderella Night Songs, and I do the quotes because it wasn't actually night songs in there. A gal friend of mine, she found a bunch of albums in the dumpster, and this was one of the ones she had, and it actually turned out to be a promo copy of Long Cold Winter. So I found I when I was going through my collection a while back, I laughed because it was just such a bizarre transition as far as musical tastes and styles. And then another one I had is Leonard Skinner, One More for the Road, One More from the Road, and it's next to my Marduk stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny. So if anybody's got some weird transitions in their catalogs in their collection, then let me know because I think that that's kind of a cool thing to hear from people, like something that you look at and you go, how the hell does my collection go from this to this? It's just bizarre. But anyhow, so that's what I got for you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully check out my channel again. It's Moonshine Talking. I am Moonshine. Dan. Either way, I'll respond to either. It doesn't matter either way. Um, if you are new here, I probably should mention that Moonshine was one of my wrestling gimmicks, so that's where the name comes from. That's where the Moonshine Talking comes from. If you're not familiar with the channel, but that's kind of like the origin story of it. Hillbilly Hellraiser, that's my handle on YouTube. If you ever see me in chat rooms or anything like that, that's me. Somebody asked me, is that a Hank 3 reference? It is not. It's a combination of the hillbilly gimmick that I did, plus the gimmick name of my finishing move that I figured if I ever got a job, that would have been what I would have named it. But I never really got a full time job, so I didn't get the luxury of doing that. But yeah, man. So that's what I got for you, everybody. This is Dan. This has been Moonshine Talking. As always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always suck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Keep head banging and iron slanging. Everybody take it easy. Have a good one. One more time, thanks to Heavy Metallurgy, Alan and Marty for doing this. It's always a cool thing to do. Always a good way to start the year and start doing videos out that way. And as always, I will catch everybody on the next video. Later.